I finally had everything I had wanted. My longtime crush Isaac was finally my boyfriend who took me out on dates every other day. And his family, well, they worshiped me like a literal goddess and would do anything for me. Ever since I was a child, I had always gotten everything I set my eyes on. You see, my parents were super rich with their huge jewelry business, so it was raining money for us all the time. And they treated me like a princess. That's how I knew I deserved everything I wanted. But before we move on, like this video, hit that subscribe button, and activate that notification bell, and your crush will contact you in a week. Trust me, it works. Then there was Isaac. He was my brother's friend, and I had a huge crush on him ever since I was little. He was the only guy I imagined as my boyfriend, but he had no feelings for me. In fact, he had a girlfriend, Tina, who was nothing compared to my beauty and background. What does he see in her? I wondered while stalking them on social media. However, I was not ready to accept my defeat with Tina and give my lifelong crush to her that easily. So I thought about doing the unthinkable. Isaac's parents, the Browns, worked for my parents, so they were pretty close, and they were invited to dinner at our place once every week, which meant I spent plenty of time around him. Still, to get to Isaac's heart, I needed even more time with him. For that, I planned and executed something mischievous. I quickly contacted a few of my friends and asked them to get 2 buckets full of bugs. I'll pay any amount needed, just keep in mind the bugs should be harmless. I can't put anyone at risk, I said to one of my friends over a call, and she told me it was an easy task for her. After that, just in a couple of days, my order was ready. I picked the order and went to Isaac's house. I had picked a time when his whole family would be out. Then I secretly sneaked in the house with the bugs, and as I got in, I let them run free. Instantly, it looked like some bug apocalypse was going on inside the house. Suddenly, I felt some bugs creeping up my legs. I screamed as if my life was ending, even though I knew they were harmless, and ran out of there. Then I just sat in my car waiting for Isaac and his family to come back home. After a few hours of waiting, the family finally came back, and as they entered the house, Mrs. Brown screamed. First part of the plan, check, I said, hearing the scream while in my car. I smiled. Then it was time for the second part, which was to become their rescuer. I got out of the car and walked towards the house normally. I didn't rush in because I wanted to make it look like I was just passing by. Smart, right? Once I entered the house, my Oscar-worthy performance began. Oh my God, what's going on here? I said. I was just passing by and thought I'd say hi, I quickly added.
I don't know how all these bugs got here all of a sudden,
Mrs. Brown said. I didn't want her to linger on the topic of where they came from. You guys know why. So I quickly went off to offer them a solution. I don't think you can stay here tonight. Why don't you come and stay at our house? I won't take no for an answer. They were hesitant at first, but I didn't give them any other choice. I also had an edge on that because I was their boss's daughter. On our way home, I offered to call the pest control for them.
Sure, dear. Thanks for everything,
Mrs. Brown said. Little did she know, I had already paid the people to lie to the family and tell them that it would take almost 3 weeks to get rid of the bugs completely. Finally, I will get to spend a lot of time with Isaac, I thought and smiled as I was feeling very happy. In this limited time, I will make sure he breaks up with his girlfriend and becomes all mine, I swore to myself. To my bad luck, even after that, Isaac didn't get away from Tina. He was spending even more time with her and would rarely sit with us for dinner. It went on like that for a week, and it made my blood boil. I have to think of something wicked to break them up quickly, I said to myself while pacing back and forth outside my room. However, something else caught my attention at that moment. There was a man, whom I didn't recognize, secretly headed towards the guest room. He looked suspicious, so I quickly started following him. He looked around once, then entered the room and shut the door behind him. Isaac's parents are in that room. I need to know who he is, I thought, and quickly rushed to the door and put my ear on it as that was the only way to figure out what was going on inside. I listened carefully, and after hearing what the man said, my heart stopped. Turns out, he was their neighbor, and he had news that would ruin my entire plan.
I came from out of town yesterday and found something disturbing recorded on my CCTV camera.
He said. I had never even thought about CCTV cameras being there initially. He then told them he had all the footage of how I carried a bucket full of bugs inside their house and that I was the reason for the bug infestation.
You know what? You keep this information secret for now. It's our matter and we'll confront her tomorrow morning personally.
Mr. Brown said, and since it was getting late, the man too got ready to leave. Quickly, I got away from the door and rushed to my room. As you can guess, that event had rid me of my sleep. I tossed and turned all night thinking about the fact that the Browns were going to expose me the next morning. Oh no, Isaac is going to despise me after hearing what I have done. Stupid me, I thought. I had to quickly think of something that would save me from all the embarrassment I was going to face, along with the hate from my lifelong crush. For that, I got up, opened my laptop, and started doing some research on the internet. After looking for a while, I found a perfect idea that could actually pull me out of the mess. Then I made some calls, and only after that, I was able to fall asleep. The next morning, I woke up early when everyone in the house was still sleeping. Secretly, I went to the front gate to get something I had ordered the night before, and the order was a person, and that person was a professional hypnotist. Then along with him, I went to the room of the Browns and barged in without permission, like it was my own house, which it was. After that, I left the job up to the hypnotist, who instantly hypnotized them and sent them back to a state of sleep. You know what? Make them worship me so that they'll do whatever I say, I told the hypnotist, and he nodded his head in agreement. I mean, why wouldn't he? I was paying him a hefty price. After that, we went to Isaac's room, and he too was hypnotized to do whatever I asked of him. When all was done, I gave the hypnotist half of the payment and promised to pay him the other half soon. Then he left. That meant Isaac and I were alone in the room, so guess what I made him do first? You're right, if you guessed I made him call Wicked Tina and break up with her. The second thing I did was make him take me on a date. It was amazing. The two of us finally together and he did everything I said. It was the same with his family. They literally worshiped me like I was some goddess of ancient times, and I was enjoying all that very much. I made them do all my homework and even Isaac's so that we would be able to hang out more. I also made them do my chores, like make my bed and clean my room. Not only that, but I also asked them to take out some money from the shop for me because I still had to make a partial payment to the hypnotist. In short, I would say everything was going great. That was until one day, I was on one of our regular dates with Isaac. We were at a restaurant talking, laughing, eating, when suddenly we got into this moment where we were about to kiss. I was over the moon because that was going to be our very first kiss. As we were leaning in, all of a sudden, Isaac screamed, "What are you doing? You're going to damage my eardrums." I was annoyed.
I have a sharp headache.
He replied, and then slowly his expression started to change.
Hillary,
He added then, and got all angry.
How dare you? You hypnotized me. I remember everything.
I was shocked. How's this possible? I thought, but I didn't linger on that because I had to take care of that situation.
I'm going to tell everyone everything.
Are you sure you want to do that? I decided to use the villain approach. I hypnotized you. You know, I am very much capable of doing more if you don't do as I say, I threatened him. I especially put stress on the fact that I was going to get Tina in trouble and get his parents fired.
No.
He replied quickly. Of course. He didn't want either of that to happen. He was a softie, so I used it against him.
I promise I'll do anything you say.
He added, without me having to say anything further. I smiled, held his hand, and asked him to take me for a walk. For a few weeks after that incident, I again lived like a goddess, getting worshipped day and night. Even though I had blackmailed Isaac to get my way, he still told me jokes and we still laughed. One night, I was having a really hard time sleeping, and at around midnight, I felt like having a snack. As I was making my way to the kitchen, I came upon a shocking sight. Isaac's parents were quietly sneaking out of the house. How's this possible? I've not ordered them to do something like this, I said to myself. I was also scared thinking of the possibility that they had gotten out of hypnosis as Isaac had. I have to figure it out, I thought, and followed behind them. After 5 minutes of walking, I saw them entering an old industrial building near my house. They went inside, and I did too, to find that some people were waiting for them there. When I finally saw the faces of the people they were meeting, I was shocked. It was the hypnotist, and to add to the shock, there was Tina alongside him.
I told you, Dad, this plan would work.
She said to the hypnotist as the Browns handed them a fortune worth of jewelry from my parents' shop. You heard it right. She called him Dad. All those times I had thought I was winning with the Browns family, wrapped around my little finger, I was a fool. I was just a pawn in the hypnotist's dad and daughter plan. That whole situation was a shocker to me, so I lost my focus for a while, and suddenly, because of that, I knocked over some of the boxes I was hiding behind. I almost got a heart attack as the boxes collapsed, revealing me. Instantly, the hypnotist looked over. Our eyes met. Hillary, run! I told myself, and turned around, but I was too late. The hypnotist was already there at the door, blocking my way. You're going to pay for this, I said, trying to sound intimidating. But then my vision started getting blurry, and I passed out. When I woke up, I was in my room in bed. I couldn't tell if whatever had happened was real or just a dream. However, I bet you already know what really happened. It was the hypnotist using his trick on me. I was 100% sure about it. I knew I couldn't waste any time sitting there like that, so I wanted to go to that building to collect any evidence against them if I could. But when I reached the living room downstairs, I wasn't prepared for what was waiting for me. There were my parents, my brother, and the Browns except Isaac waiting for me. My parents and brother had a furious look on their faces.
Hillary, is it true what they're saying?
My father shouted. I had no idea what the Browns had told him.
They were caught on camera stealing from the shop multiple times, and they're saying you made them do it.
My brother explained.
Is it true?
My mother asked, almost crying. It was kind of true and kind of not. I had only made them steal once, or maybe twice, but that was not even that much. Still, I couldn't tell them the truth, really. I would be in so much trouble if I told them I got them hypnotized, so I kept quiet. Because I gave them no explanation, my father locked me up in my room, when in fact, the ones who should have been locked up were the hypnotist, father-daughter. But for now, I'm still locked in my room, still trying to find evidence against the hypnotist so that I can get them for what they did. Then, I will finally gain my freedom back, and Isaac too. Thanks for watching. Do you have any suggestions for me? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and check out other videos on the channel.
I still can't believe we scored tickets to this Jay Whiz concert.
Madison screamed and threw her hands in the air. I love Jay Whiz, and my bedroom was adorned with his posters. I was his biggest fan. My other friends, Monica, Claudette, and Eden were there as well. Right before intermission, Jay Whiz threw his jacket into the air. Being the tallest among my friends, I reached up and grabbed it. I caught it! I caught it! That was the most perfect night of my life. Hi, my name is Kimberly. Have you liked our video or subscribed to our channel yet? If not, take the time to do it now. And also hit that notification bell. Once a new video is posted, you will be notified. One afternoon while listening to the radio and hanging out at my house, my friends and I heard the most amazing news ever. Jay Whiz was hosting a competition. All you had to do was purchase a ticket to win a chance to spend 2 days with him. The winner was to be announced at his club next Friday. My friends and I rushed to the mall to purchase the ticket. By the time we got there, the lines were really, really, really long. We finally got our tickets 2 hours later. We decided to purchase our outfits for the announcement of the winner since we were already at the mall. While at the mall, Eden pointed out one of our classmates from the college we attended.
Hey, isn't that Alan? The nerd who was the biggest crush on Kimmy? Where is he?
Madison looked around and searched the crowd for him.
Look, he's coming this way.
Claudette made kissing noises at me. I only have eyes for one person, and it definitely isn't for Alan Wiener. Alan approached us and greeted everyone before turning to me.
I take it you heard about the Jay Whiz competition?
You taketh right.
Monica giggled. I shot her an annoyed glance. Alan continued.
I'll be at the club next Friday. Maybe I could ask you for a dance?
He smiled at me, exposing his crooked front teeth. Maybe. Look, we have a few more things to get. We'll catch up some other time, okay? I pulled my friends in the opposite direction.
See you next Friday.
Alan called behind us. By the time I got home, I was exhausted. I crawled into bed and dreamt about the perfect 2 days that Jay Whiz and I were going to spend together. Finally, Friday night arrived. Madison picked us up and drove us to the club. By the time we arrived, the club was already crammed with girls waiting on the announcement. We all tried to enjoy ourselves, but I knew we were all nervous, each one hoping to win. When Jay Whiz finally arrived on the stage, the girls screamed with excitement. Some of them even tried to climb up on the stage and grab him. When he finally settled the crowd, one of his bodyguards brought out a large glass bowl filled with small pieces of paper.
Okay, ladies. One of you will be spending an amazing weekend with me. Let's see who that lucky lady is gonna be.
Jay Whiz dipped his hand into the bowl, and the crowd became silent. Every girl in the crowd clutching their ticket with anticipation.
The lucky ticket number is 579301.
There was a short pause, then a loud scream close to me.
I won! I won!
Madison screamed and jumped around, excited. Jay Whiz walked off the stage, and his bodyguards made a path for him through the crowd until he reached Madison. He kissed her hand and invited her to dance. I felt as though my emotions carried me on a roller coaster ride as I watched Madison dance with my crush. First, I was happy that one of my friends won. Then I was disappointed that it wasn't me. Then I was angry because Madison knew how much I liked him, yet still there she was all over him as they danced.
Hey, I'm sorry you didn't win.
Alan's voice came from behind me. Who does she think she is? My gaze never left Madison and Jay Whiz.
I know someone who could definitely give him a run for his money on the dance floor.
I thought Madison and I were friends, but I guess there's a thin line between friends and enemies. I turned to my friends and told them that I was heading home because I wasn't feeling well. I wasn't even sure they listened to what I said because they were too busy pointing and waving at Madison and Jay Whiz. I stormed off and walked out of the club. I messaged Pink Cab, a transportation service for women, and waited.
Hey, what's wrong?
Nothing's wrong, Alan. I just need to go home.
Do you need a ride? I could drop you off if you like.
I'm good. I already called for a cab.
Then let me wait until it comes. The buddy system is always best.
Suit yourself. I stood there and surfed the net on my phone, hoping that Alan would go away, but he didn't. About 15 minutes later, the cab pulled up. Alan opened the door and I got in.
Safe journey home, Kimberly.
I gave a fake smile and the cab drove off. That night, I cried myself to sleep. The next morning, I woke up to at least 100 notifications on social media. Madison tagged me and the others on everything she and Jay Whiz had done so far, and it wasn't even 10 a.m. In our group chat, the others were so excited for Madison, but I didn't feel the same. I created another group with Monica, Claudette, Eden, and I. Hey guys, what's going on with Maddie? Does she really have to take pictures of everything? Frown face.
Oh, Kimmy, you know if it were you, you'd have a full-blown picture of you and Jay Whiz hanging from your garage door.
Claudette responded.
Sounds to me like someone is a tad bit jealous.
Monica texted. I'm not jealous, but if you do want to show off, at least you should look good doing it. Since when does Maddie wear bikinis? I mean, she should leave that for people that aren't shaped like her. Shrug emoji.
Really, Kimmy? Body shaming? I thought you and Madison were friends. The least you could do is be happy for her and stop acting like the fox who couldn't get the grapes.
Eden texted before exiting the group chat. Monica and Claudette exited shortly after. That day, I stayed in my PJs, ate ice cream, and watched the Hallmark Channel. I took off my phone so I wouldn't receive any notifications. I'm not jealous. They're jealous, I grumbled as I put another spoon of ice cream in my mouth. That night, while watching a late movie, a news flash came across the television saying that Jay Wiz and Madison had been kidnapped. I became dizzy and felt sick to my stomach, especially after how I had reacted towards Madison. I didn't know what I would do if anything happened to Madison. I turned on my phone and I had 15 missed calls, and social media was blowing up because of the news. I had a conference call with the girls. Hey guys, is the news true?
Yes, we've been trying to call you for the past few hours,
A worried Claudette said.
Rumor has it that they were supposed to make a special appearance at a children's hospital, but never showed. The bodyguards were apparently given something unknown to them, and they were helpless.
Monica chimed in. How are her parents holding up? I asked.
Not too good. Mrs. Roberts had to be rushed to the hospital.
Eden sighed. We chatted a bit longer and said if either of us heard anything, we would immediately contact the others. We hung up and I prayed that Madison would come out of this in one piece. Monday morning, I couldn't bear to go to class knowing that Maddie wasn't there. I decided to go to the mall to keep myself busy. The police didn't have any leads, and Maddie's parents decided to hire a private investigator, but he didn't find anything either. The police said that after 48 hours, it would become even harder to locate a missing person. I was surprised to see Alan at the mall.
Hey, how are you holding up?
As good as I can be, I faked another smile.
I know this might be a bad time to ask, but maybe I could take you out tonight to get your mind off things?
I thought about it for a few seconds. It couldn't hurt to go out with Alan. At least my mind would be kept off Madison. I agreed. I gave Alan directions to my house, and he told me to get ready for 7 p.m. Like a gentleman, Alan brought me flowers, opened the car door, pulled out my chair at the restaurant. We laughed and chatted as though we were old friends. Maybe I shouldn't have judged the book by its cover. When we left the restaurant, I told Alan that I had a great time. He said he had one more surprise for me, but I needed to wear a blindfold. Curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to take the bait. I allowed Alan to blindfold me when he got into the car, then we drove to our destination. I know. That was pretty dumb of me, but I was emotional and confused. As we drove, I listened to hear if I noticed any familiar sounds, but the more I drove, the quieter it became.
We're here!
Alan sounded like a child who couldn't wait to open his Christmas gift. I waited for Alan to help me from the car. I held his hand firmly as we walked to his surprise. I heard a door creak open, so I knew we were entering a building. After a few twists and turns and the opening of another door, Alan announced that my surprise was in front of me. I removed my blindfold quickly, but nothing could have prepared me for what I saw. There was Madison and Jay Wiz, both tied and gagged on chairs. What's this? I looked at Alan.
I knew that you were disappointed when you didn't win and felt betrayed when Madison went out with Jay Wiz, so I thought I'd bring the betrayers to you.
I looked at Madison and Jay Wiz's bruised and battered faces. I turned to Alan and gave him a kiss on the lips. I hugged him happily. Thank you. This is the best surprise anyone has ever given me. I kissed him again. I walked boldly towards Madison and looked her squarely in the eyes. This is what you get for betraying me. You thought that you could just go out with my crush and there would be no consequences? I laughed bitterly as Madison's eyes filled with tears. I then turned to Jay Wiz. I no longer have a crush on you. Alan is my new crush. I walked over to Alan and linked my hand with his, then turned to him. How about we get a celebratory drink and decide what to do next with these two?
I thought you'd never ask, babe.
I spun on my heels and walked out of the building, closely followed by Alan. We went to Alan's house, and he brought out a few snacks, 2 glasses, and a bottle of wine. I thanked him again for what he did as I poured him a glass of wine, then one for myself. I kept Alan talking, and every time his glass was almost empty, I refilled it, putting my glass to my mouth every so often to make it look as though I was drinking. After about an hour, I looked at him playfully. Let me head to the bathroom to go and freshen up. I went to the bathroom and waited about 10 minutes before exiting. By the time I got back to Alan, he was sprawled out on the sofa, knocked out. There was no time to waste. I grabbed Alan's keys and jumped into his car. I called the police and told them everything that happened. I gave them directions to Alan's house, as well as to where Jay Whiz and Madison were being held. When I arrived at the old, abandoned warehouse, I heard sirens in the distance. I ran into the warehouse and busted into the room where Madison and Jay Whiz were held. "I'm so sorry, Maddie," I cried as I loosened her ropes and then Jay Whiz's. Both were too dehydrated to move, so we waited on the police and paramedics to take care of them.
Are you Kimberly?
An officer asked me. Yes, I am.
Based on your information, we were able to arrest Mr. Wiener. And thanks to you, 2 people were saved today. Thank you.
I nodded and followed Madison to the ambulance. Once at the hospital, I called Madison's parents and the other girls to let them know that Madison was found. Within the next hour, everyone was there as I related the night's events.
I didn't think that someone like Alan was capable of doing something like that.
Monica shook her head. I guess when you have a crush on someone, you do some strange things. I sighed heavily. The next day, we were allowed to see Madison, and I apologized for my behavior. She joked that anyone willing to kiss Alan Wiener was her friend for life. We hugged, and we promised that we would never let a boy come between us again. About a week after, I received a phone call from Jay Whiz, inviting me to a yacht party as a thank you for saving his life. I asked him if I would be able to bring my friends along, and he said, the more the merrier. At the party, I realized that Jay Whiz wasn't as glamorous as I thought. All he spoke about was himself and how much money he had. Of course, that didn't mean that my friends and I didn't have fun or take tons of photos with him. It just means that I would think twice before doubting my relationship with my best friend over a boy.
I opened my eyes and looked all around me. Surely this must be a dream. But it wasn't. It was real. Everything around me had been completely destroyed. Smoke still rose out from the ashes of burned down buildings. The sky was bright red with the glow from distant fires. It was a complete ghost town. I couldn't see anyone else at all. Oh my God, am I the only person to have survived this? But before I go on, make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell too, or you might end up waking up in an apocalyptic world like I did. Whatever had happened had completely obliterated the town that I lived in. Hold up though, you're probably wondering how I got to this point. Let's backtrack, back to where it all began. The first time I saw Pia, I fell madly in love with her. She was a new girl at our school, and from the moment my teacher introduced her to our class, I knew she was the one for me. I couldn't keep my feelings to myself. As soon as class finished, I ran to find my friends. Oh my God, have you seen the new girl? She's so pretty, and she's clever, and she's funny.
Okay, calm down. I think somebody's got a crush.
My friends all laughed and teased me, but it was true, and I didn't care who knew it. You're right, I think she's amazing.
Well, you should tell her then.
Oh, I couldn't, I'm too shy.
Well, if you can't tell her to her face, then you should write her a letter.
I thought about what my friends had told me to do, and I knew that I just had to give it a shot. I wrote her a letter and slipped it into her locker. The next morning, I was so nervous to see Pia. I just really hoped that she liked me. I saw her walking towards me, so I took a deep breath and said, "Hi, Pia." I expected her to at least say hi back, but she didn't. She ignored me and just went walking on by. I felt really hurt. I can't believe it. She doesn't like me. When I met up with my friends, I told them what had happened. I'm literally heartbroken. I thought she was going to be the one, but she obviously doesn't feel that way about me. My friends tried to comfort me, but nothing could cheer me up. I was so happy when the bell went to signal the end of the school day. I couldn't wait to get out of there. I was walking home all alone when suddenly in front of me, I saw Pia step out onto the street. She obviously hadn't seen the car that was zooming towards her. I ran and grabbed her and dragged her out of harm's way.
Oh my God, thank you. You saved my life.
Didn't you see the car coming?
No, I didn't. Thank God you were here. What's your name?
Jason.
Thank you again, Jason.
No trouble, anytime. I walked away from Pia. Well, that was awkward, but I guess at least we can be friends. The next time I saw Pia, she was really friendly with me. We started hanging out, all of us, and we soon became really good friends. One day, a group of us were in the cafeteria when someone started talking about secret crushes. Pia turned to me.
How about you, Jason? Do you have a crush on anyone?
I felt like she had stabbed a knife right into my heart. You know already.
I do?
I couldn't believe she was being so mean to me. Well, I wasn't going to hang around and take it any longer. I grabbed my bag and stormed off from the group. I could feel everyone's eyes on me as I walked away. I hadn't gotten very far before Pia caught up with me.
What's wrong, Jason? What have I said?
Are you telling me you don't remember?
Remember what?
On your first day here, I gave you a love letter, I put it in your locker, and you never even acknowledged me. Pia looked at me confused.
I never received any love letter.
Don't try to deny it. I definitely put it into your locker.
Which locker did you put it in?
220B?
Ah, I understand now. My locker is 221B.
I couldn't believe it. I had put the letter in the wrong locker. I felt so embarrassed and my face went bright red.
Oh, don't be like that. I think it's cute what you did.
Really?
Yes, really. In fact, can I ask you something?
What?
Would you like to go on a date with me?
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had given up any hope of ever dating Pia, and now she was asking me out. Yes, I'll go on a date with you. Pia and I hit it off right from our first date. It wasn't long before we got really serious.
I want you to meet my parents.
Yes, of course, I would love to meet them. Pia invited me to her house so that I could meet her family. Her dad was a scientist, and as soon as we started chatting, he wanted to show me some of his experiments.
Hey, Jason, I've just invented this new VR set. Would you like to take a look?
Yes, sure, that would be great.
Oh, Dad, leave Jason alone. He doesn't want to be bored by your work.
Pia seemed quite annoyed with her dad, but I wanted to make a good impression on him. It's fine, Pia. I'd love to look at your dad's invention. Her dad handed me the VR set, and I put it on. Wow, this is amazing. How did you manage to come up with such a cool invention?
Oh, well, you'll have to let me explain everything to you one day.
Sure, that sounds great.
Anyway, Dad, leave Jason alone now. We're going up to my room to listen to some music.
Okay. See you another time, Jason.
Yes, sir. It was about a week later, and I was sitting in my bedroom when I heard the ping telling me I had a message. I picked up my phone and read the text.
Hi, Jason. Why don't you come over on Saturday? I will explain to you all about my inventions.
I was a bit hesitant at first. After all, it's kind of weird for your girlfriend's dad to invite you over. But what harm could it do? He was an interesting guy after all, so I sent him a reply agreeing to go to his house. When I arrived at Pia's house, I was surprised to see that her dad was there alone. Where's Pia?
Oh, her and her mum have gone out for the day.
I thought that it was a bit strange that Pia hadn't wanted to see me, but maybe she already had something planned with her mom. Oh, right, okay.
Come on, follow me. I'll show you my lab.
I followed Pia's dad down to his lab. It looked like he was in the middle of lots of different experiments. Something was bubbling away in a glass vase, and a machine in the corner was making strange whirring noises.
Come over here and have a look at this.
In the middle of the room was a metal table. On it was a wooden box holding about 10 different colored vials. He picked one of them out of the box and held it out towards me.
Be careful with this. If it breaks, you could send the whole world into chaos.
I was feeling really wary at this point, so I decided to take a step back, away from the vial. But I didn't notice that there was a banana peel randomly lying on the floor. As my foot stepped on it, I slipped. My arms went flying up into the air and knocked the vial clean out of his hands. It smashed onto the floor.
What have you done?
Ah! As the scream left my lips, the lights went out. I felt something sharp, and then I began plummeting into darkness. I opened my eyes and looked all around me. Surely this must be a dream. But it wasn't. It was real. Everything around me had been completely destroyed. Smoke still rose out from the ashes of burned down buildings. The sky was bright red with the glow from distant fires. It was a complete ghost town. I couldn't see anyone else at all. Where is Pia's dad? Am I the only person to have survived this thing? I began to walk around what was left of my town, calling out as I went. Hello? Is there anyone out there? I stumbled on and on through the piles of debris. When I got to the location of where my school had been, all that was left was a pile of rubble. There was no one to be seen anywhere. I wandered the streets in a daze, hoping that somewhere I could find someone else still alive. But there was nobody. I felt terrible. I walked for days and days, in tears most of the time. I was so hungry and thirsty too. I tried to look for food, but I couldn't find anything that was edible. I began to get weaker and weaker. I tried to keep walking, but without food and water, I didn't have the energy to keep on looking. Eventually, I couldn't go on anymore. I collapsed onto the floor and just lay there, staring at the devastation around me. The starvation ended up defeating me, and I died. Or at least I thought I died. I opened my eyes. I felt a bit strange, as though I was in a different world. I could sense that there was someone beside me, and I looked to see who it was. It was Pia's dad, and he was holding a VR set.
Damn, another failed experiment.
I looked at him in confusion. I had no idea what was going on. It wasn't until I tried to get up that I realized I had been restrained. I was hooked up to some kind of machine, too. I tried to pull away from the restraints, but they were too strong. Let me go. Untie me now.
Don't worry, you'll be fine. That was just an experiment to see how your brain would react to believing that you had destroyed the world.
But the vial, I smashed it onto the floor.
Oh, there was nothing sinister in the vial. That was just plain old orange juice. I had placed the banana peel behind you, knowing that you would trip and fall. I was the one that switched the lights off, and then I injected you with a sleeping serum. As soon as you fell asleep, I hooked you up to the VR set.
What? You're crazy. At that moment, I started to really panic. I was stuck in the lab with a crazy scientist. I knew I had to get out of there. Help! Help! As I screamed out, Pia's dad started coming towards me, the VR set in his hands. Please, someone help me. Suddenly, the door burst open and Pia and her mom came running in.
Dad, what are you doing? Leave him alone.
I had to test out my VR set on someone.
You're insane. You can't just mess with people like that.
Try and stop me.
I looked at Pia frantically, but then her mom spoke out.
Pia is right. I'm sorry, but I can't let you do this anymore.
How are you going to stop me?
I've called the police.
No! Why would you do that?
2 seconds later, the door burst open again and a dozen policemen came running in. They grabbed hold of Pia's dad and put handcuffs on him.
You're under arrest. Don't try to resist. We've got you surrounded.
I could see that Pia's dad knew the game was up. He didn't try to put up a fight. He didn't even say a word as the policeman led him away. As soon as he was gone, Pia came running over to me and undid all the restraints.
I'm so sorry. I can't believe my dad has done this to you. I had no idea that he was capable of doing something like this.
At least you came to rescue me. If you hadn't found me, I don't know what he would have done to me next.
I've been trying to find you for the past 48 hours. I've been calling and texting you, but you didn't reply.
What? Are you telling me that I've been here for 2 days?
Yes. At first, Mom and I didn't think about it. Dad often locked himself up in the lab for a couple of days when he was working on something important. But when I couldn't find you, I started to wonder if Dad had something to do with it. So I looked through my husband's phone and we saw the message he had sent you. As soon as we realized that you had arranged to meet with him, we put 2 and 2 together and decided to come and search the lab.
I put my arms around Pia and hugged her.
I'm so sorry, Jason. Can you forgive me?
There's nothing to forgive. It's not your fault. Your dad is crazy. And anyway, I'm just happy to know that everything in the world is normal and not empty like I had thought it was.